Hi, folks. Grego here, and here is that one that so many people have been waiting for. And as you might have guessed by the title, yes, I've got some questions for British DJ and musician, the talented Lowell Hammond, who is right here. Hello,
Oh,
Lowell.
hi, Grego. That's a fantastic intro. You'll definitely be on the Christmas card list
Oh,
next year.
nice.
Uh,
Thanks. Man,
Firstly, just
you
like
you
sort of
look
happy New Year, bud. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. You look great. You don't look a minute older than the last time I saw you.
Well, neither do you, Grego.
So, well, how was your New Year's?
Well, it was great, mate. Just a couple of local parties. It was all good. Yeah, it was fantastic. Yeah, I love New Year's. Had a good Christmas. And what about you? Was you in Japan for New Year's, or you were back
Yeah,
by then?
yeah,
Oh,
no. We spent all of New Year's and most of the month of January in Japan, and it was very
oh,
interesting because it's the
yeah, I
first
bet it
time
was.
that we have been in a different country for New Year's, and they have
Yeah.
interesting. We were visiting family, and they have interesting traditions that they do. One of them is New Year's Eve, where there is a 6-hour music program on NHK where
Oh,
a
wow.
lot of Japanese people watch that every New Year's Eve, and then there are special New Year's foods that you eat. There are 12 different types where each has a different meaning,
Oh,
and of course there's breakfast. So
oh, I love
you
Japan. As I said to you, my youngest son was there. Just he's fascinated. You know, he's bonkers like a lot of
right,
teenagers. Anime. He bought me this lovely T-shirt back from Tokyo. I went to Tokyo and Osaka, and I used to play both those places. I was 10 years, and then in the '90s, used to play a lovely venue called the Liquid Rooms in Tokyo. But I love the whole Japanese essence. Like you, probably, I've always been fascinated by their culture and everything. And I love their sort of the way they embrace technology. They always seem to be so far ahead of us.
yeah,
It's like the
they're
sky
on yeah
moving. Yeah.
they're on the cutting edge. And matter of fact, they were first when it comes to phones. That's why there's so many Japanese emojis. I remember back maybe around 2006
Right,
seeing
right.
people on the trains all with their heads down, they're like this looking at their phone, and I thought that was really strange. And then came back to America and nobody was doing it yet because they didn't have phones yet. But yes, they're
Cool.
on the cutting edge. And you said that you played at the Liquid Room. Is that in Shibuya, Tokyo?
Yeah, I love that area, but
Yeah.
I mean, I love all those. What's those big shops? Those big Tokyo Hands and the Loft. Those huge big.
Yeah.
Oh my God,
Yes.
they're
Tokyo Hands.
amazing.
Yep,
Yeah,
and the Loft, and then of course their convenience stores are excellent. 7-Eleven, Lawson, Family Mart. You know, there's people that live in those small neighborhoods in Tokyo that can sustain off
it's
of 7-Eleven,
incredible.
the
And
convenience store
tracking
chain.
on to what we've been talking,
Uh,
yeah, Brian, I've just been working obviously due to Brian Eno. He's obsessed with Japan, and his manager Ray Hearn has lived there for years. I mean, he's been taking bands out there since the '90s, and yeah, he's married to a Japanese lady, and he's been out there since the '90s. He used to take my band out there in the '90s, blah blah blah. But he's embraced everything Japanese. You know, it's incredible. But he loves it, and yeah, it's an incredible place, isn't it?
yeah, it is. You know, Brian Eno, that brings us into the next topic here. And matter of fact, little crossover, right down the street from Loft in Shibuya,
Yeah.
there's an 8-story tall Tower Records. 8 stories,
Oh, I used to
Tower
love Star
Records,
Wars.
pure music. Yeah, I walked through that whole store, all 8 floors, with a camera, and I videoed the entire place for about
Oh, wow.
45 minutes. Now, nobody said anything. You know that it seems like in Japanese culture, people are walking around. Of course, I look like a tourist. You know, who would know that I'm there to visit family? And if I had been in a business suit, somebody probably would have stopped me. But yeah, I walked around that
Oh, I
whole
see.
store and I took a video. It's going to be on this channel. And in fact, one of those floors is
Brilliant.
nothing but vinyl.
Oh,
When
my
you
word.
walk in there, just the aroma of vinyl hits you, and I think it stays on you all day.
This
It's
is true.
absolute.
Honestly, talking about smell of vinyl, I remember being in Belgium playing in the night. I swear, I kid you not, Gregor. There was a guy backstage, and he reckoned he could smell the vinyl and tell where it was pressed.
Oh, you know what? I would believe that. I actually would believe that. There are some purists out there. Uh,
I mean, I
I
love.
you know that would be fun to go with him in the sixth floor of Tower Records in Shibuya, Tokyo, and say, "All right, let's put your nose to work here. Where was this pressed?"
Yeah, he'd
Hey,
probably spontaneously combust. It'd be too much. It'd be sensory overload, Grego. It just like,
here,
oh,
let
sorry.
me show you something here. Let me see. You mentioned Brian Eno. You ever heard of something called the Red Book by any chance? Does that ring any bells?
It does ring a few bells. Yeah, that's a lovely story. I've done a couple of albums with his younger brother as well, Roger, actually, and wrote a single for his niece, Lottie, actually. So, yeah, I seem to work with a lot of the family. So, yeah, really proud of this one. A real quick story, Grego, how this come about.
Awesome.
Yeah, we were put together by a really cool guy, Dominic Norman Taylor, whose sister, Anthea, was married and managing Brian at the time. And it's so funny. I remember touching on it before. I found all these emails from Brian in 1999. I remember we talked about the whale. I think it was based San Francisco, California.
Yeah,
There was only
yeah.
2,000 people using using the internet. I mean, like I said, I didn't know the internet. I think Dominic had printed them off for me, so I had all these lovely intimate emails, which I just found really in depth from Brian. But anyway, blah blah blah. So back 20 odd years ago, 20 years ago, we embarked on this album, and it was going really well. And then it just sort of broke down. Sometimes these projects do. We both got busy. I expect Brian was probably much more busy than me. I think he went off to do a U2 album, and it just sort of just lay there, and I sort of both went on to do different things. And then was moving house like you do, and you find all these weird and wonderful things. I found all these DAT tapes, and I was listening through, and some of it sounded so cool. And I love this track, which was originally called Brian's title, Metal Bounce. And I just moved to this new place, actually. It's incredible. And there was an artist, really cool artist, singer, St. Leonard. We shared the same publisher as well, Notting Hill Music. Anyway, so I thought his vocals would sound great, and he really wanted to do it. He's a big fan of Brian's and liked my work, and he had a stab at it, and he done really well. So this track that sort of laid dormant for 20 years was sort of kicked back into life thanks to St. Leonard doing that wonderful top line and those vocals and lyrics. And yeah, so we renamed it, or he come up with a Red Book. I guess it's based loosely on the Carl Jung book. And yeah, I'm really proud of it. I think it sounds really cool, really cool.
Yeah, no doubt. And you know that there's kind of a little bit of a radio meme in California when it comes to that song. Now, I have listened to that song so many times. And in
Oh,
fact,
thank
it's
you.
it's wonderful driving music. I love to put that
Brilliant.
on when I'm driving. And I like the full cut, the seven and a
Yeah,
half
we,
minute
we
one.
much
Now
prefer
there's
that as well.
yeah.
We much prefer the 7 minute mix. Yeah.
Right, people, check this out. Check out the Red Book. It's right here on Spotify. Now, I have a really really old Spotify account, and I thought, maybe I should play this on this show, but no, I'm not going to do that because of copyright. And you can just play it yourself if you go right down below your screen here. Look at the description of this video, and you're going to see a link to the
Oh,
Red
that's
Book
brilliant.
on
Thanks.
Spotify. Yeah, so go ahead and listen to it there. It's on vinyl, which we're going to talk about here in just a second. But
Great.
Lowell, what ended up happening is that song got a little bit of a reputation. Now, as you
Good
know,
for
I'm a
you.
DJ as well. Yeah, but no, it's not thanks to me. It's thanks to you talented artists. Now, what happened was when you're a DJ, you're a DJ for life. You know that. And
Sure.
and even if you're on hiatus and you're not currently on the radio, well, you don't lose contact with everyone you know because you're
No.
all in it together, and it's a lifetime thing. And I sent that song out to some people and said, check this out right here. I know this guy, Lowell Hammond in London,
No, thanks,
and
brother.
he has worked on this, and just give it a listen because I like it. So if I like it, somebody else is going to like it too, I'm sure. And what ended up happening is I think it was the University of San Diego. had a phenomenon happen where they played Redbook and then the phone rang. Okay, now, as you know, as a radio DJ and the whole history, let's say back in the 80s, you used at a radio station, you would have one, maybe two, or even three DJs there at the same time, and then you would have a phone bank where there was
Right, right.
someone, often more than one person answering the phone, more than one line. You would have callers on hold. Okay, well, in 2025, it's not the same anymore. You know, a lot of the radio stations are basically computers in closets where there aren't even people there anymore. But the old school radio stations still exist in the universities and with the local nonprofit radio stations. And
Mm,
universities, they have DJs. They have young people that are there spinning vinyl still to this day. And they
brilliant.
still have a phone sitting there. And you can find that phone number on their
Awesome.
websites and you can call that DJ. And what ended up happening was when the Red Book was on, the phone would ring. So she thought that was interesting. She thought, okay, well, let me try this again. Phone rang again, twice, okay? So she sent it out to other people she knew and said, why don't you play this song and let me know anything at all, any feedback at all that you get from it. What happens? She gets an email from up near the border of Oregon, a small station up there, and they said, "Yeah, we played it," and like four people called in. They said it was the most people they had called in the last year about anything. So yeah, so this kept happening. All right, there's something in that song that is triggering listeners, and you can get your radio station phone to ring by playing the Red Book. And
Oh,
and
that's
it's
cool.
right
I
here,
love that, Grego.
right here on Spotify. And so I asked, what are these people calling about? And
Mm,
it seems it's extremely simple. They call and they go, "Who's this by? Who's this by?"
that's brilliant.
It's that. It's repeatedly. It's like, "Who's this
Yeah,
by?"
it's so good to get that
So,
sort of feedback, you know. Fantastic. Oh, thanks,
and it's
Grego.
on vinyl. It's on vinyl right here.
On
You
red
go to
vine.
23rd, yeah, red vinyl, blood red vinyl. 23rd Precinct Music, right here. The Red Book, St. Leonard, Brian Eno, Lowell Hammond, limited edition, blood red 12-inch vinyl. And says limited edition, only 500 made. Okay, hang on just a second. Before we continue recording, I need to go order about 10 of these before people see this.
You're
That
definitely
you,
on the Christmas
you,
card list.
you talk about a collector's item. Only 500 pressed.
Only
That's
500.
Yeah, people need to grab it. Okay. So, Lowell, thank you for the wonderful music on behalf of all of the people that are enjoying this. It must be people in their cars. You know, I was saying I like it for driving music, and most of the people on radio these days are listening in their cars, I
I was going to say,
believe.
apparently that's where most people actually listen to music these days, is in their cars.
Yeah,
It's in the
yeah,
cars. Yeah,
yeah.
totally. And people have got incredible systems in their cars as well. Some of my
Oh, yeah,
friends, it's like being in a
yeah.
nightclub jumping.
Right.
Fantastic.
All right, now the last time we talked and recorded something for broadcast,
Sure,
we were talking about AI. Okay, now
sure.
it's crazy because we were gonna meet again about AI fairly soon, and then
Sure.
life got busy and it took longer than we were planning, but that's a good thing because a lot of things have advanced, and
Yeah,
I'm curious about your stance on AI. I
sure.
was reading this earlier. Uh, OpenAI strikes a deal with the U.S. government to use its AI for nuclear weapons security. I I don't s- there
That's
I don't see a problem with that. What nuclear weapons security and you just hand it up? Yeah, why not? I've been using Windows for 30 years since Microsoft has been trying to get this thing to work, and I still have trouble with Windows. So should we trust AI with nuclear
I'm
weapons? Oh
instantly
my.
transported back to that Kubrick film, Peter Sellers, Doctor
What?
Strange.
Right, right. Well, it's big news, man.
It is.
OpenAI. It's. hopefully there's still some human interaction there when it comes to
That's
nuclear weapons
vital. I was
security.
going to
So
say, Greg, I think anything we say now, we will look back in a year's time and laugh because because everything is moving at such a pace, so fast. Just wanted just something I noted down. Just put my goggles on to get serious.
okay.
A friend was in America talking to Daniel Dennett, the great American philosopher, and said, "Is it the biggest technology since the agricultural revolution, since the industrial revolution, since Gutenberg's press?" He said it is as big as the most important fundamental technology that humans have ever had slash made money. The whole world runs on money. That's what Daniel Dennett said, and I don't think the problem is AI, is it? The problem is who owns it, and what do we do with it? I mean, the actual thing is just. I was thinking about the internet, about social media, Gregor.
Hmm.
When that popped up, it definitely looked like a force for good. It seemed to be definitely pro-democracy, it encouraged debate. People would meet other people, against tyrannies. I remember it was very active. I remember the Arab Spring that started in Tunisia. It just seemed to be so pro-democracy and for the power of good, as I said. And all of a sudden, the great Pandora's box flew open, and out popped all the trolls, the haters, and the oh,
Well,
oh,
well,
yeah,
well,
all the conspiracy theorists, and
right.
it just became so toxic. Yeah. So,
Well, the trolls had always been there. They just hadn't been named trolls yet. So,
yeah, 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 yeah,
that's
yeah.
it, right. If you go back to the earliest forms of internet that people used, we're talking
Sure,
go back to the early 90s or late 80s.
sure.
Usenet, the internet was there. Most people didn't use it. They'd use a dial-up modem. Mostly they used
Oh,
bulletin board systems, but some
yeah,
people would use. Yeah, Usenet was extremely toxic, unmoderated.
I agree.
And I'm not really one for moderation, but it was chaotic. And it seems with social media, even just as few as a couple of years ago, it was something promising and useful. And now it is
Sure.
so divided, particularly on political lines in America. It is so
Yeah,
divided, and
yeah, yeah. It
it
definitely.
it it yeah, it makes it difficult to wade through
That's the
all of the
operative word.
muck.
Raid.
Yeah, it's where social media it seems to have become antisocial for the most part, and that does make it difficult to use it for the positive purposes, such as reaching out. Look at you and I. We met on social
No,
media,
totally.
and we
Yeah.
right.
I've had loads
So
of meetings through social media, but at the moment it seems swamped, doesn't it? I mean, but hopefully it can turn around. But at the moment, it doesn't seem to be a particularly positive place. But so I suppose AI, has potentially even more power. I was thinking as well with AI, anything that's done through AI has to be declared, and countries have to reach some sort of agreement. Otherwise, it's just going to run riot, isn't it? I mean, with militaries using it and all sorts of God knows what. I mean, so the power of it could be frightening, but hopefully, we can get everybody around the table and get to some popular consensus. No, it's sort of uncharted waters, isn't it, Greg? Really, uncharted waters.
yeah, yeah,
You know,
and
as,
with you mentioning the financial aspect of it, uh,
sure.
few know better than the company Nvidia right here in the
Right,
Bay
right,
Area. They
right.
they that what was it? It was. Let me see if I can got this right. Deep. It's deep something. Okay. It's there.
Not
There's a
deep state.
new here. Do I have a screen? There is a new. I keep wanting to call it deep fake. Oh, deep seek. Okay. Yeah.
I
So
like
yeah,
deep state.
who needs a deep fake with your AI, right?
Right, yeah.
And I guess it might remind me of the deep state,
Yeah,
possibly. So,
yeah, yeah.
yeah. So you have
Freudian.
China that just comes, yeah, they just come out of the gate with an AI messenger. I've tried it. It does not do pictures or
Right.
audio yet. It just answers text questions. But when that came out, it spooked investors
Okay.
and caused jitters, like billions, hundreds of billions of dollars worth of jitters, and Nvidia lost a very large amount of
Yes.
value
Yeah.
just in a very short amount of time here recently. And a lot of people lost money on paper unless they sold. So I'm
Yeah.
holding Nvidia, but and I think that the shock of this new interface is subsiding. But something monetary that big, just overnight, if that
Yeah.
happened last week, what's happening next week or next month?
Well,
And
that's the thing. Markets like to know, don't they, where they are? And I suppose the uncertainty, as I said, uncharted waters must scare them stiff, really. Because you just
right.
can't plan any long termism, is there? I was thinking about as well a guy, Marvin Minsky, who I used to read a lot in the 80s. He was like sort of who's sort of the founder of AI, if you like, and wrote a lot of incredible stuff. And well, I was just thinking as well, like in the 70s, 80s, if you transported all this stuff back, it wouldn't. Oh, I've lost you there, Greg. Can you see me?
Oh, I'm
Oh,
still here.
oh, okay. Oh,
Yeah.
that's it.
Yeah, just put the spotlight on you like
Oh,
that,
okay. If you
or you can
transported,
put it side by side.
love it. If you transported all the technology back now to 70s, 80s, there wouldn't be anything to run because there was no data, was there? There was no data in the 70s and 80s. Now you've got all these millions of servers all over the planet that sort of like to give it fuel. So it wouldn't have been able to function then. So it's definitely of its time. But like I said, I mean, God knows where we'll be in a year's time. But it's sort of equally scary and exciting in equal portions. Do you think?
Yeah, and you know that I've got a question for you here about something that Sir Paul McCartney said to the
Oh
BBC,
yeah,
but and he now he didn't say this, but this is something that you just made me think of here.
yeah,
As far as AI learning, if you go back to the 80s, or in the 90s when there was not a massive, basically something near the sum total knowledge of humanity in existence, if there
sure.
wasn't something, a big resource like that as collected by companies like Google, Alphabet, and what have you, there wasn't this massive amount of data for machines to learn from.
Exactly,
So,
exactly.
so as far as music, um, it's my understanding that musicians have the ability to opt out from allowing their creations to be used for machine learning. But here's the problem. How
Yeah,
do those musicians know who all is using their music, their property, for machine learning? And how do they contact all of them? What if there's thousands of them? You know, we've all heard of
yeah,
DeepSeek now
yeah.
and Chat GTP. We've heard of those, but what about the ones that are in development? You know, what about that startup down the street in San Francisco that has
Yeah.
never had their front door unlocked yet, but there's been something going on and it's something AI? You know, are they using your music? Are they using Sir Paul McCartney's music? Let's take a look at
Yeah.
something that he said. Okay, that's Sam Altman again. Okay, Paul McCartney. Um, Paul McCartney, this is an interview, a rare interview with BBC here very recently.
Mm.
Sir Paul McCartney said, "Don't let AI rip off artists." And it was a rare interview for Sunday. Uh, and Sir Paul said that when we were kids in Liverpool, we found a job that we loved, but it also paid the bills. And he was warning that proposals could remove the incentive for writers and artists and result in a loss of creativity. Now, he goes on to say, um, that I think AI. I'm just taking an excerpt of what he said here. I'm
Yeah,
skipping down
sure.
about 7 paragraphs. This is BBC's interview, and it can be read on there. I'll put a link below. He says, "I think AI is great, and it can do a lot of things. We took an old cassette of John's and cleaned up his voice so it sounded like it had just been recorded yesterday. So it has its uses. So, I'm seeing negatives and positives here. How does
Yeah,
an artist
it's
protect
exactly. It's
their property?
definitely there's definitely pluses and negatives. I mean, the big fear I think for artists and record companies, publishers, I've touched on it before, is that some kid in his bedroom basically does a Hans Zimmer type score. $2,000. I think I heard Hans Zimmer gets paid $2 million. But do you see what I mean? So it sounds like Hans Zimmer, but it's done by some kid on his laptop. So it's really tricky, isn't it? I suppose. I mean, artists have been thinking about the Stones' influence, Bob Muddy Waters, whatever. Artists have been influenced and taken from older material and older music, haven't they? It all goes back to the blues and jazz and stuff from America. So back to Africa, I suppose, in the end. But basically, people have been pulling from all sorts of influences and sources, haven't they, for years? Um, so is there a sort of is it the same sort of thing? It's real grey area. It's just so. I remember being with one of my publishers at this thing called the Escape down in Brighton, this sort of music conference, blah 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 blah. But anyway, there was an album that had popped up, and it had a band that sounded like Oasis. So they were writing songs that sounded like Oasis. And then they had AI generated vocals that sounded like Liam Gallagher. And my
Really?
buddy, he looked it up, PRS and all that, all the collecting societies, royalties, and it wasn't registered. I mean, are you going to get companies claiming for works and all that? Where is? I mean, is anybody looking into this? It just seemed a bit like the
Right.
Wild West. You know what I mean? How does that work? I mean, because up until now, it's always been, I mean, working on the films for the end roller at the movies, Greg, I always do the credits. So you get, the artist, courtesy of the record company it's published, who it's written by. So it's always individual people. I mean, we've never had companies listed as creating this music. I mean, this is a massive, big step. I mean, so far it looks like none of this stuff is registered, but I mean, how does that work going forward? Who's talking
Right.
about this?
It's yeah. It's scary. Think that a kid could be sitting there on their phone and all
Totally,
of a sudden create something like John Williams, what he
totally,
did with Star Wars, and
totally.
you know, it's my understanding that machine generated music cannot be copyrighted because only the works of a human can be
I
copyrighted. I
think,
th- I
I think
believe.
at this point in time, you're totally right. I can see there being some sort of debate in the next year or so when some company
Yeah.
starts producing all this music for films and TV or whatever. I mean, there's definitely certain jobs going forward that are so under threat. We've all seen, the robots making cars and that, but I think a lot of these, like so many jobs, like the call centers, for instance, when you're talking, I mean,
I
you could argue,
I
you
don't remember a human answering a phone call for years now already. So, yeah.
well, eventually,
Yeah.
I think you can get through to one. I was with one of my sons yesterday, and he was talking to someone about his car, and you do get through in the end. They've got all these sort of firewalls, but I think that person at the end might not be around in about a year's time. I can see AI,
Right. Yeah.
and the companies are
Well,
probably
with
because people probably get on there shouting, don't they? Like when they're having trouble with their with I don't know their car or their computer or whatever. So they would just soak it up, won't they? The AI computer just take.
actually, you're right. And I did talk to somebody on the phone.
There you go.
I think it took about 35 to 45 minutes
Yeah,
to
it
finally
does.
get through, and then they finally answered, and
It
then the
does.
connection disconnected. I'm like, hello? No, hello, come on. I finally got a person, and it was disconnected. So, but
It's so
you know,
crazy. I remember
yeah.
changing my energy supply with British Gas. And I was talking to this guy, and this guy was in India. He was in Delhi. he
Oh.
was really friendly. I had a little chat with him. He said there's 300 people out there. It's I love the way it's called British Gas. And it's like, I mean,
Yeah.
so I can see a point in the years to when literally you'll be talking to AI technology robot, won't you?
I really hope that another year from now that we're not in shock, but we could be. Because, what's going to happen when AI creates its own cryptocurrency?
Well,
Then we are screwed.
yeah, I mean,
Is it?
we've all seen Blade Runner. What happens when they start thinking for themselves and go off grid or whatever?
Right, right. But actually, you know what? What were those movies that uh it was the Terminator. Right.
Mm.
Yeah, OpenAI strikes a deal with the US government to use AI for weapons security. And you remember the plot to the 1984 science fiction blockbuster The Terminator. So,
Yeah.
uh
In
so
many ways,
it
don't you
is.
think that some of these film plots and these film they seem to be ahead of the curve all the time. They're always they come up with these plots, these films, and sort of 10 years later it happens.
Yeah. Yeah.
Some of the greatest minds might be some of these script writers. If you think about it, I mean, more than anything, it really reflects a lovely quote by William Burroughs, the writer. And he said that literature is 50 years behind music and art, which I never thought of. I thought it was a really interesting quote. And he just said, well, we've got to catch up. And I thought it was really interesting because films certainly, and music, I suppose, but certainly filmed really seems ahead
You
at pulling these things out.
Absolutely. Yeah, and it seems like even Family Guy and The Simpsons have a or is it South Park?
Oh, I
They
love
have an
South Park.
right. Yeah, they have an
Yeah,
uncanny ability for predicting the future, even if
Penny.
it's
I
by
love the
accident. But
character with the
hey,
park.
right.
Brilliant.
You know what, Lowell? Listen, before meeting with you, I read up on your updates and on your bio, and I wanted to
Sure.
ask you about a film here.
Yeah.
I believe you probably already know exactly what I'm gonna ask you
The
about.
trap house.
This right here, yeah,
Yeah.
Trap House. Okay, now this is I pulled up something here from Film New Mexico.
Yeah. No,
Because this is being filmed in Albuquerque and it's bringing a bunch of jobs to the area. And there's a whole bunch of familiar names in this.
oh, yeah.
People that have
It's a
related
suspense.
to Avatar, Guardians of the Galaxy,
That's
Dungeons
right.
and Dragons, Star Trek, Discovery. I mean, I'm seeing some big names in this right here.
I think
Now,
you'll love it. It's a stellar cast, Greg. It's been filmed now, so I'm just working on the music, and we're due to sort of finish the very shortly, about a week's time. I'm going to start a pre-mix in London, actually. Yeah, Dave Bautista's star in it. I first encountered her through Guardians of the Galaxy, and he's sort of become the man of the moment, hasn't he? He's a producer on it as well. I can't give away too much of the plot, obviously, apart from stuff that's up there online. But I can't wait for you to see it in the summer. It's the biggest, well, budget-wise, it's the biggest thing I've ever done. It's a proper big sort of Hollywood. I haven't really done much of that. It's mainly British indie, a couple of Danish films, with Nicholas Winding Refn, who did Drive, but mainly, and I love British films, so I haven't gone out of my way to try and court that. But one of the producers is a buddy, and the director directed It's All Gone Pete Tong, the film I worked on, which is a bit of a cult classic about a DJ who goes deaf in Ibiza, like you do. But Trap House, yeah, really exciting, Greg. I've been head down on that, working evenings as well. A lot of the guys, like I said, the directors in Montreal, and one of the producers in LA. One of the producers. So I'm on weird times and everything. So there's stuff going on all day, really, in the evenings as well. But that's cool. It's a really exciting project. I'm really proud to be
okay,
involved.
that's awesome. I can't wait to see your name in the credits on
Yeah,
that.
me neither.
And yeah, and I'm looking forward to it. Congratulations. That
It's
now,
great.
Trap House. I wasn't quite sure how much you could say about it because the film is in
Yeah, sure.
production. Um, but we're going to be listening for you in Trap House. Now, what does Trap House mean?
Yeah,
What is it?
sure.
What
When
is
I
it?
heard the term, I sort of had an idea, and I thought I'd better look it up. And it became self-evident when I was getting clips and basically copies of the film to look through as I was working on it. So the drug cartels, they have a thing called a trap house, invariably built in their well, usually in the floor. It's like a trap door, as it says, a trap door. So it'd be a
Okay,
fourth
trap
floor.
door.
Yeah, so it looked like
Okay.
a normal floor. Then you pull up a couple of floorboards as a trap door, and then all the illegal substances are down there. So yeah, a trap house. Yeah, so
Okay.
it sort of makes sense, really. Yeah, it's all set on the Mexican American border. Um, so yeah,
Right.
no, it's great. It's really entertaining. I mean, it's brilliant, and the director's fantastic. He's a great guy, and I said we've been friends for 20 years, and I did his second film. Yeah, Michael Dowse. He's a great fella. He'll be over in the UK in about a week's time. So yeah,
Okay.
yeah,
Okay.
really,
All right.
really,
Well, that is absolutely awesome. And
is that okay, Greg?
let's meet again. Let's not go so long this time, and
Yeah,
let's meet
sure.
again on
Anything.
AI, and let's because I think that we've been a bit reserved and what we've said about AI, and I think it's because we know that what our opinions now might seem absolutely absurd, or they might be foretelling, or
Exactly.
it could be we may have no idea what we're talking about, or we may have had some valid concerns, and
Yeah.
you know, I
I'd
hope
love to
that
catch up with you a few months down the road, and
okay,
part three of where we are with the.
yeah,
Is it all
where
right
we
to
are
do?
now.
It's all right to do some shout outs, buddy. Just quickly.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Go
So
ahead
there's some
and
cool characters who.
please do, and then I want to show the red book again.
Oh, thanks, Greg. So me shout out. So to my two wonderful sons, so the oldest was 20 yesterday. My really supportive music publishers, Notting Hill Music. So that's Andy, Dave, Leo, John, and Ali. Director Emma Croft, just composer on her great film Invincible, with a very talented Eva Abraham. She's also a producer, along with producer Samantha Seeger. Two really talented people. Guys I regularly work with, other musicians: Duncan Forbes, Eva Abraham, Stephen Gordon, Lewis Van Johnson, the Vertigo Film Crew, Alan, Jane, and James. Ben Jacks, I've worked with on many films, about 6 films. He's the producer on Trap House, top fella. Alison the Rock, Humby, my buddy, Spanish buddy, who runs the incredible, arguably the best record shop in the world, so or on the planet. You should check that one out, Greg. It's called Vinyl Head. Um,
Okay.
Peter Stanfield, who's a fantastic writer of music books. He's my walking buddy. We go for walks. He's an incredible writer. His attention to detail is second to none. Peter Stanfield. My new buddy Glenn, the incredible Caro, and lastly, First Run Records, who popped out the Red Book record, which is the larger than life Billy Kilty, Kyle, Rosie, Matt, and Kaylee, a fantastic team based in Glasgow. Bang!
Sweet. Okay. Well,
There's
Lowell,
loads
it is.
more below.
Yeah. Yeah. It is always nice to catch up to you,
Likewise.
so yeah, let's definitely do a part three of where are we now, and let's see
Love
if
that.
AI has taken over the world yet. So,
Hopefully, they're being me
hopefully,
and you, and not a couple of AI generated characters just uh, having a banter.
it could be, but I think some people would see some hints though. Still, that's a scary thought. What happens when we can't tell the difference from AI and real people anymore?
You know what I mean, Greg? Spooky.
Spooky. All right, folks, not spooky, entertaining and fun. The Red Book,
Um,
composed by Leonard, Hammond,
Thanks a million, Grego.
and get it on vinyl. This right here is the one you can order, only 500 pressed from 23rd Precinct. The link is right down below. You can order that right now, and you can go and listen to it on Spotify right now. Link to that is below, and of course it's getting some play by Billy Sloan.
Oh yeah, BBC Scotland. Yeah, they're bigging it up. That's just fantastic.
Wonderful. Okay. All right, Lowell. Well, really nice to catch up to you again. You look
All
great,
right.
and let's see where we're headed here in early 2025, because it seems like AI has gone from something to where there isn't new news every couple of months. There's new news every couple of days,
You're
and
right.
some of the
Spot on.
news is actually it's really surprising. So,
Let's catch
all
up
right.
sooner rather than later, Greg.
Yep. Okay. Yeah. Let's definitely do that. Nice to see you again,
Before,
and
before,
have
we're,
an
before we've been replaced by the AI versions of Grego and Lowell.
yeah. The robot versions of Grego and Lowell, and
Yes,
who will stop the robots?
me and you. Oh,
All
you
right.
take it, brother. Yeah.
Peace
Happy
out
New
from
Year.
rainy San Francisco, and Happy New Year, Lowell.
Peace out from the UK. You take care, buddy.
You too.